Hi guys, it's Ben here from T-Rex Space Station. How's everyone doing? This is going to be another of my play and chat videos. Lucky you. You get to sit there and hear me rambling on and on for upwards of 15 minutes. I always like to go with Skate. He's got the lowest power, but he's got the maximum technique, man. Now this is playing on the Mega Drive Classics collection, on the Sega, not on the Sega, what am I talking about? On the Xbox. What am I doing thinking that Sega have a current gen console? Don't be silly. Wouldn't we all love that though? This is probably my favourite one in the Streets of Rage series. It's just so 90s. The music, the feeling, the graphics. Just like a 90s dance mix. Now I always find the controls just not as easy as with the Mega Drive. For the double tap attack I always find a bit difficult. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but I don't know. I've just been struggling with it a little bit. Come here. Anyway, I'm going to attempt to answer one of Kit's very good 10 randoms questions sets. It's not the easiest thing to answer questions while playing a game, is it? But we will have a go. And if it goes tits up, well then I can always blame that. Oh, just get the knife. Right, so yes, Kit did a really good 10 random question video a while ago that I promised to answer, and it's taken me flipping ages to get around to doing it, so I'm sorry about that, but nevertheless, I haven't forgotten them. I did want to get around to talking about them. Oh god, so the first one then is, what two games would you like to see a crossover of? And I'm sure that we would all have answers to this, all have things in our heads that we want to talk about. So, you've probably heard me in the past moaning about the Pokemon series. A series of games that are very close to my... What are you doing? Very close to my heart. That I certainly really loved the first and second generations of. Get out of it. Why is so... Oh, and I end up taking it. One of the big problems with the Pokemon series is that for most of us, it just doesn't seem to have... Oh, I'm getting stabbed again. It seems to have progressed far enough in terms of over the course of its history. You know, there was quite a big jump between Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Gold because, well, firstly, Gold was the first one in proper full colour for the Game Boy Color. And it added a load of new Pokemon and a completely new world, and it was phenomenal. It was a big jump up, and most of us were amazed by that. But moving on from there, the increments in the series have been much slower and much smaller than you might hope for. And that's been a kind of constant source of frustration for a lot of us. What we really want to see is a big progression in that series that actually is going to take it forward. And we just haven't seen it. I mean, yeah, the 3DS games look a lot nicer than they have before. But, you know, is there a remarkable improvement in the story? Not really. Is there a remarkable change in the gameplay? Not really. So what do we have then? We have, yeah, slow increments, slightly better graphics as it moves along, but not a big enough change. And what most of us would want is proper multiplayer to be added to it in a modern way. So I will have to pick Pokemon as the first game. Now, what would I cross it over with? It's going to be probably a popular MMORPG. That's quite a mouthful. Oh, I took the health and I didn't need it. You know, something like World of Warcraft, or even more ambitiously, something like Elder Scrolls Online, something like that. Why? Because, well, Pokemon is just set up for it. All of us can see the potential that a fully 3D, massively online game would have. You know, you'd be able to explore the world in real time with other players around there in 3D. You know, collect Pokemon, share them, fight, and have all of those things that games like World of Warcraft are so set up to do. You know, battle tournaments and leagues, have a proper 3D avatar, make it real. Why it's taken so long to have that, I have no idea. Now, there is a new Pokemon game coming out on iOS devices. which is like a real-time Pokemon game where you can look around at like the world that you're in on your phone and catch Pokemon, which, you know, I thought that was an interesting enough idea. But there are all these little gimmicky ideas. None of them seem to properly unify the game into something that, you know, would be groundbreaking. The concept is so strong and the fan base is there. You know, we've got X-Men online multiplayer, we've got Star Wars online multiplayer. Why the hell do we not have proper Pokemon online multiplayer? There's no good reason. I'm getting whipped here by Electra. I'm not having this. Oh, and she's dodged my spinny attack and just cracked me one. Come on. You don't want to get too far away from her because then you'll be in the range of her whip. That's it. So yes, it would be Pokemon and World of Warcraft, Diablo, something like that. Just any of those big MMORPG Blizzard type games. Oh, I didn't get the apple. I promise you, it would make millions. It would go flipping nuclear if it was made. Right, so then the next one is, what series or game did you try but couldn't get into? I am a bit of a contrary person. I don't know if it's something I do on purpose or if it's just subconscious, but somehow really popular mainstream games, either it's because people have overhyped them and I find that makes a big impression on me, or it's just because people have bad taste. I don't know. But, you know, certain game franchises that people have raved about, I haven't been able to get into. Now, I have bought an N64 based on people's fond memories and recollections of it. Just, you know, to see what some of these games that... Oh, God, he is absolutely dicking me. What some of these games that people rate are. Right, he's going to have some of my special, I think. The interesting thing about this is the special takes health, which is cool. Balance. So yes, I got an N64 and tried games like Turok, for example. Turok's pretty widely known, pretty widely regarded. I can't... What do I do? Oh, for fuck's sake. I kind of thought it was shit. It's almost utterly unplayable. It's really slow-paced. There wasn't enough shooting in it. And there was the horrible N64 Fuzzovision. So that's a highly rated game. Couldn't get into it. There are other modern games that I would really have thought that I would like, and I can't actually understand why I don't like them. So Dark Souls would be a big one. I love roguelike games. I love RPGs. Why the hell do I not like Dark Souls? Everybody's told me it's fantastic. I've tried to play it numerous times. I just don't get it. It's not a proper roguelike to me. It's basically doing small sections of the same game over and over again. It's not properly randomly generated. And yes, the difficulty level's hard, but not in a sort of very challenging way, just in a kind of, oh, I couldn't have predicted that, now I have to die. The game seems to pride itself on like cheap, impossible sections that you have to dodge through. That isn't fun to me, and I know this is going to be, you know, slightly controversial to a lot of people, but I just don't get Dark Souls. And I really should, because like I said, it's a perfect kind of game that someone like me would love. I don't know, it's just sometimes there's no... It's not clear, like sometimes you just don't like a game, you don't like it. You can't always think of a good justification, just sometimes this sort of shit happens. There's bits of flipping motorbike absolutely everywhere. And that cool techno loud music is just awesome. Anyway, yeah, so Dark Souls will be the next one. And then other sort of quite raved about FPSs. A lot of FPSs are just lost on me now, so Dishonored, no, didn't get it. Played a touch of it, got almost immediately bored. Oh, I love that attack. You know, Halo is another one, a huge franchise that anybody who played an Xbox when I was at school seemed to absolutely bone. I just don't get Halo, it just ain't Quake, it's just not that good. And the obsession just never caught on with me. And I have bought some of the modern ones to try and get into it and see what the fuss is about. And yeah, it just isn't there. I suppose I have had a bit of fun with Halo when I played on split-screen co-op. That's one of the things it does have going for it, but it's not enough. So yeah, there are loads of games, because I'm just a contrary asshole, basically. I seem to not be able to get along with games that are highly regarded. Right, which do you prefer, local co-op, sorry, or online? For me, I will always choose local. You can never beat good friends, beers, and local gameplay. Why? Because there's so much banter that goes on there that you miss out on if you're doing it online. There just isn't the same level of fun. Like, I have so much fun playing games like, well, Streets of Rage we played last night. But, you know, 4-player stuff, Micro Machines, for example, or stuff like that. You know, I love doing that. That's always been like my favourite thing to do. And I just think that the banter and the interaction in real time is much, much better. And I don't think you can ever really compensate with the internet for having friends and having interaction and fun. And, you know, I do play a lot of online games, but they're plagued with all sorts of connection problems. Someone can't hear it, the other person on Skype. You know, someone's got lag. All of that stuff is annoying. At the end of the day, you don't get any of that with just plugging in the fucking computer and putting 4 control pads in and going for it. So, you know, I did get massively into my online games, but no, I think that it's got to be local. And I guess this question is specifically about co-op, I suppose. I don't really play that many co-op games. I guess Left 4 Dead is co-op, and actually that's one that needs online play, and I do play it a lot. So I guess maybe co-op might be better online. Certainly multiplayer in general, as a rule of thumb. I always want to play with peeps together. I might have answered that question slightly wrongly, but there you go. I'm distracted by this. Oh, he's dropping me. Crap. Anyway, on to the next one. What defunct developer do you wish was still around? And I think a lot of people have probably answered the same developer for this one. It's Psygnosis. Of course it is. Everybody remembers Psygnosis so fondly, and whenever you see that Psygnosis logo, you know you're going to get a quality or at least an interesting game. You know, Discworld, the Discworld games were really big for me back in the day, and those were Psygnosis games. They were superb games that I absolutely loved. 1 and 2, but they were very, very hard games, but they were great. The Lemmings games, they were Psygnosis. One of my first games that I ever really played on the PC. Lemmings, very early on. And also, yeah, we had other very innovative games back on the day of the PS1. I don't remember when Psygnosis finally disappeared. It must have been around the PS1 era, mustn't it? But, you know, Wipeout, what a great futuristic racer that was, and what a showcase for the PlayStation. There are some others. The other company that I thought of was Cavedog, and the reason why I say Cavedog is because they're possibly slightly less well known. But they made a game called Total Annihilation, which I would rate as being the best, well, one of the best real-time strategy games ever made. It was certainly very before its time, and certainly doing something that the other RTSs of the day weren't doing. Yes, so, I mean, I think Cavedog did 2 games. They did Total Annihilation, and then was it Annihilation Kingdoms or something like that, and then disappeared. And it's a shame because they had something good there. And I know that there's been was it Planetary Annihilation on Steam? Where I don't know if it's an indie game as such, but it's sort of a development on that series, making it bigger and with like massive planets and massive online multiplayer. I heard very mixed things about it, and so I therefore haven't dabbled in case it spoils my memories. I think that it was, last time I looked, it was very much in beta and was probably a bit too expensive for the level of development it was at. But yes, Cavedog and Total Annihilation, you really, if you haven't played that game, you should check it out. It's still very fun to play now. I actually did play some co-op multiplayer with my friend Johnny from my old flat, which you can see on my channel somewhere. It's going back probably over a year or so now. But that was a great game because you know you could get huge big maps. 64 megabytes of RAM required maps, which even my computer couldn't manage. You know, 8-player, and I liked the way that the game played with the commander that could build bases, and essentially you win by killing their commander. It was just a good game. So yeah, Psygnosis and probably Cavedog will be the 2 that I'd say. Favourite handheld overall, I'm sure everybody, well, I'm sure a lot of people are choosing the same thing for this. It is going to be the, well, I would say the original Game Boy, because that's the one that has the most memories for me and is the one that I played the most and was the first one that I owned. It was prolific. Everybody at school had a Game Boy, and for the limitations on the hardware, the quality of the games that it could have were superb. You know, fitting full RPGs on there, the Zelda games, some great shmups on there, and of course the Pokemon games. It was just your great all-rounder. It had everything on it, and it was perfect to take away on holiday or take in the car and just play all of those superb games. My first one was actually a limited edition yellow one. I didn't have the grey generation. I think it was maybe a little bit before my time. And I played that thing to death. I went everywhere with it. I would play it for hours and hours a day at my nana's house when I would go there on summer holidays. I did actually plug it in recently to try and have a bit of a whirl back on the Game Boy, and I actually couldn't. The screen quality is pretty horrendous. If you're used to modern screens, you'll likely... Oh, I tried to do a double... You will likely find it quite hard to get into. But, you know, for the reasons that I've stated, it would still be up there. I think the Game Boy Color was a very big improvement because the screen looked reasonable. This guy's getting on my tits. I love this thing about this game. The enemies that used to be bosses then just become normal enemies. Yeah, the problem with both of those is that they weren't backlit, and so you really do have some trouble playing those use your words, nowadays. But yeah, Game Boy has to be up there. I remember playing Mario 2, the 6 golden coins. That was a game that I got with my sister at Christmas, and I just played it to death and managed to complete it and all the rest. Back in the day when you would actually have so few games that you'd play them until you'd made damn well sure you'd got your experience out of it and completed it. So yes. What game did you take a random chance on and ended up really liking? I like this question. This doesn't happen anymore, actually. It really doesn't. I don't know if that's just because I'm more precious with my money or because there's more wide resources available, but, you know, back when I was younger, it was really PC games that I would have. I would really buy games in PC World based on the box art, really. That and whether my dad would say I could have it. That was really the time when I was back in school that I would do that, buying games purely based on how the art looks. And I got some of the games that I would still put in my top 10 list today through that method. The biggest one would be Little Big Adventure 2, a game that I bought because I thought it looked nice, it looked cool on the package. I'd never heard of it, and it turned out to be one of my favourite games ever, and it's a game that a lot of people would hold very, very highly. It's so well loved. It's just a beautiful game. And I've played that to death. It's a game the graphics were just revolutionary. Fully 3D world to explore. Nothing like, and I'd never played anything quite like that. And what the hell is this? How the hell do I attack this thing? Oh, there you go. It's really hard to know whether you're on the right level or not. Now, Dark Colony would be another game that I took a random punt on. There were so many random real-time strategy games back in the day, and this is another one that, well, it's one that I bought on first impressions, and that probably a lot of people wouldn't know about and would probably say is quite an average game, but there's something about discovering a game for yourself and it not being that well known that makes it really beautiful and precious. So Dark Colony is a well-remembered real-time strategy game, sort of aliens versus humans, Area 51 type game. Guy is Blanca. Or he's called Zamza in this for some reason. Can I get that chicken before he kills me? Come here, you slippery bastard. I actually had a message from the game's developer on my... It's the most popular video on my channel is Dark Colony gameplay. And I actually had a video from a message from somebody on that video who actually was in the original design team, which is amazing. I mean, the great thing about those games is that they're not online because they're not popular. Everybody posts Mario and Sonic videos, but those ones that you find yourself that are unknown are really where the beauty of nostalgia comes in. And if you can get videos of those types of games, it's great because it gives people that kind of feeling of, yes, I remember this. That great feeling of reliving something that you thought you'd forgotten about. So yeah, there's a few there. Right, next one. If you had to go into combat with a game character, who would it be and why? I would pick Rincewind from the Discworld Point and Clicks. Why would I pick Rincewind? Not because he's a particularly fearsome character, but if you've read any of the Discworld books, you'll know that Rincewind is like a cat. He seems to have 9 lives. He's an utter coward who continually finds himself in bad situations. But he always manages to somehow land on his feet and escape certain death. This guy's a slippery bastard. Just like Rincewind, I guess. And it's really funny how he manages to sort of always... He's just very good at getting away. So I think that if things turned hairy, Rincewind would be able to get us out there, get us out of trouble absolutely rapidly. So I would choose a cowardly character like Rincewind because we would likely survive, even if we wouldn't do very well at the fighting. What have you most regretted trading away with a friend? I didn't really do a lot of trading stuff, to be honest with you. Not with friends. I would mostly buy my things and keep them. I think there are always sort of slight regrets about things that you give away or that get sold. I mean, I have talked before, I had to sell my collections in order to buy the next generation. So I regret trading away my Mega Drive collection, and I also gave away my PlayStation 1 collection, a huge collection, to one of my dad's friends because his grandson wanted something to play. And at the time I wasn't interested in it. I didn't realise the importance of, well, nostalgia and reliving those things in the future. So, not especially regretting trades with friends as such, because I often didn't do that, but certainly regretted letting those systems go away. And I've talked about that before, so I'll move on from that one. Favourite gaming marketing slogan? I actually really don't have one. This is really hard for me. Why can't I do the throw? I can only think of like EA Sports is in the game. That's literally the only one I can think of. That's quite bad, isn't it? Maybe I just haven't been indoctrinated by gaming adverts. I don't see that many gaming adverts on TV. I really don't. I guess I'll have to just go with the only one I can remember, even though EA are assholes. I guess EA Sports is in the game reminds me of some of the old football games I used to play back in the day. I guess I'll just go with that one. Right, last question. Recommend a great game. I'm going to go with an indie game. I'm going to go with a game called Risk of Rain, which you need to play. If you do play it, you'll love it. It's kind of, I suppose it's a shooter, platform shooter, with roguelike elements in that it's randomly generated and you have to get abilities as you go along. You have to basically find a teleporter and clear a guardian for each stage. And as you go through and do more challenges, you unlock more characters, and there's a huge roster list. Each of the characters have different attack styles and levels of power, speed, very different ways of playing, and it's a really, really good game. It's very addictive. It's quite a punisher, I must say. So it fits in with a roguelike theme in that sense. But it's very addictive because you just keep thinking, if I can just get further next time. There's a certain art to it in terms of you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time on the levels, because the longer you spend with each level, the higher the difficulty gets. So there are more spawns going on the further in you get. There are more things happening the further in you get. And so there's a balance to be had between leveling up and collecting money and collecting power-ups and getting on with it, because you don't want it to end up getting brutally difficult. So yes, Risk of Rain, get it. It's on Steam. Probably costs you £10 or even less. I'm sure it was something like £10. But it's well worth a punt, and I've spent a lot of hours playing it when I first moved to London. I don't think it's particularly it's not particularly demanding. You don't need a great PC for it, but the graphics style is really nice. It's pixel art. It's really well detailed little worlds, and the other thing about it was that the music was very, very addictive. Just couldn't get the tunes out of my head. Really, really good soundtrack to it. Kind of peaceful soundtrack actually. So it's quite like a trancey PC soundtrack that make you feel relaxed if the stressful gameplay doesn't distract you from it. So yeah, Risk of Rain. Right, a couple of quick things to talk about from myself. I am aware that this video is in danger of going on too long, and my YouTube retention statistics will tell me that no one's going to be listening now anyway, so I might as well talk to myself. Only joking. Right. Here's a question for you. Have the reasons that you do YouTube changed since when you first started? I don't know, I was thinking about this the other day about why I YouTube. I guess to answer this question you have to look into, what was the reason that you first began doing this, and then look at whether it's different now. I guess with me, I can have quite a low self-opinion of myself sometimes, and there's often I often feel like I have to prove things to myself. I don't tend to look at my achievements very positively, or can be a bit self-deprecating. So there is this thing where I like to prove things to myself. And so YouTube, basically I used to watch some of the big channels like, well, Steve Benway was a big one for me, and Classic Game Room and stuff like that, Happy Console Gamer. And I looked at those channels and thought I really enjoyed watching them, and I thought the content was brilliant, and it really got me into the whole Let's Play thing. And I was like, well, I like these games, I've got these games at home, I think that I could do good commentary. And it was basically an intrigue and a self-proof concept, where I wanted to show myself, actually, yes, you can do this. It was basically an experiment that I could do it. And that was, I always loved learning new things and kind of proving the concept to myself that I would be capable of it. So it was a lot of fun, you know, learning how to use the equipment, learning the best ways to capture stuff, learning how to present yourself well, all the video editing, the footage editing, posting and things like that. It was a great challenge for me. It was a cognitive test and a proof of concept that I like to do. Now, a lot of the time I'm like that with games. I like to see, like, you know, can I figure this out? Can I learn how this works? Can I get good at this game? Certainly with some RPGs, once I get past the phase of thinking I've got it figured out, I can get bored and then just stop doing it. That hasn't happened with YouTube. I think that I have managed to figure out how to do this whole thing. I'm relatively comfortable with editing and capturing and doing all of that stuff, and with the various different types of videos that I'm going to do, or the ones that I'm able to do in a good way. So that learning thing has been done. So I guess one of the other reasons why I started it was because people at work and stuff didn't really get the gaming thing, and I would find it very hard to interact with folks with similar interests. I wouldn't be able to find it. And so that was the other big reason, to have a community and to meet people that had like-minded stuff. And again, that's been fantastic. I think I've managed that, especially with the Retro Unlim guys and with Play Expo and meeting up with everyone. It's superb. So why do I still do it? Has the reason changed at all? I think it's actually become a bit of an addiction or an obsession. There is still a challenge element to it, in that, yes, okay, I've got some subscribers, but how far could I go? Oh, I hate this boss. I kind of want to see if I could get to 500. Or really, the ultimate aim would be to get to 1,000. Then I would really have proved it to myself. So I guess that is still the same reason as before. There is still a self-proof. Can I manage it? Am I actually any good at this thing? I absolutely hate this boss. I never managed to beat him. Well, anyway. But, yes, there's an addiction. When I haven't posted for a while, I'm thinking about it. I'm obsessed with it. I want to keep going. And now, I guess that I have got those friends. There's the interaction. There's the wanting to respond to video responses. There's the wanting to talk to people. There's the wanting to kind of get involved in a way that's much more detailed than it was before I started. So I guess it started as a proof of concept has now become a way of sort of stress relief and an addiction and a great interaction. So yeah, but there is still that element of challenge. There is that element of whether I can prove that I can do this well. And yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting thought that I had. Have the reasons that you YouTube changed since you started? Has the focus angled slightly differently? I think for me it definitely has, in the sense of now it's actually about friends and a compulsion, an involvement in something that I don't want to stop, rather than just a curiosity about whether I could do it or not. Anyway, yeah. Now, one last point. I am playing this on the Sega Classics collection. What do you guys think about gaming collections? You know, collections of old retro system games. Because there's something that I've not really had very much of in the past that I've now started to get into a bit. So I think that I'm actually very positive about these. Yes, I'm into emulators, but emulators and ROMs, firstly, they're not necessarily legal, are they? You shouldn't really be downloading shit that you don't have. And the great benefit of these is that you can they're not expensive. This is like £5 off eBay, and you can own games that you may not have legally and cheaply and effectively. The other thing is that they often have some added features like, you know, collectibles, challenges, or they're easier to display in HD than they may be on your old setup. So that's another bonus. And God. They also sometimes include games that you would find it hard to get the originals of. So, you know, this has Golden Axe 3. I don't have a Japanese Mega Drive, and I'm pretty sure that's a Japanese system exclusive. So that's another bonus. There's stuff on here that you may not get elsewhere. To me, in the past, I used to be very much into illegal downloading and all the rest. Now that I'm actually earning, I don't see any good reason to be pirating stuff. And these give me a very good, accessible way of accumulating a good number of games without kind of doing illegal downloads. Are there any downsides to them? Well, maybe. Maybe you're ending up buying games that you would want to have in your collection anyway, and I don't know, maybe you're getting duplications there. There are games in this list that I will want to purchase for real. Is that a downside of it? Not necessarily. The controls aren't... Well, I don't find that the Xbox controller feels as perfect as the Mega Drive one. I find it a little bit hard to execute certain moves like the double tap. I don't know why that is. The pad, the Xbox pad is a good pad. It just doesn't work quite as well as as the Mega Drive one would, possibly. Some of the games don't feel perfect to their originals. Now, Alien Storm on this disc, the movement seems too fast. It doesn't control like that on the actual Mega Drive. I don't know if they've sped it up or something. But anyway, yes, these are a good way of adding a lot of games cheaply to your collection, games that may be hard to buy. And it's not necessarily that you'll never buy them in real life, but maybe you can test them out on here. Or maybe while you're saving or looking out, you know, you don't have to wait and miss out on them. This has got the whole Phantasy Star series on it on one disc, all of the games for the Master System and Mega Drive, which is great. I'm not sure how I feel about the unlocking stuff though. I kind of feel like you should have all of the games that you can access on the system, on the disc, straight away. I guess it kind of forces you to play games on here that you might not want to, so you have to do challenges to unlock them. I guess some people would see that as a nice added incentive to play it. For me, I kind of just see it as like a bit of a chore, like just let me have all the games that are on it. Anyway, few questions for you there. Please follow the video link to Kit's original 10 random questions video, which is a while ago. And I'd like to know your thoughts on whether the reasons your YouTube have changed and what you think of these compilation discs. So yeah, take care guys, and I'll speak to you all soon. I'm just going to try and take Wayne down before I finish. Die, you sod. He's a tough mofo. And he's flipping... I'm going to use special on you, sir. Oh, I'm wasting all my life on special in the wrong direction. Oh, for fuck's sake. This has become a matter of principle. I want to... There you go. That's it. Okay, take care, guys. Speak to you soon.